Why, everybody? I'll wait for my partner in crime.
Per usual.
As we have been.
Per usual. Hi, guys. Oh, that was a little lower than I thought. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Boss Ravioli Queens with your two favorite caregivers, Nicole Ravioli.
Boss Lady Amy.
Shameless plug.
Hey. Hi. If you're new here, welcome. We're the Boss Ravioli Queens. We have a lot of experience in caregiving and healthcare. Together we have a combined, 20-ish, yeah.
Soon to be 21.
Yeah, that. Years of experience. So, you can go back and watch our old episodes and listen to our old episodes. We've done tons of different topics on healthcare, caregiving, trending topics, how they relate to healthcare and caregiving.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as of right now, we are currently not releasing any audio-only versions of our episodes. However, you can go back and listen to our old ones. Anywhere you listen to podcasts other than Apple. Why? Because we're poor. Otherwise, you can go back and watch all of our old videos on YouTube. And then you can also stay tuned as we release a new video every week. So, come along on this journey with us. We're pretty sure we're, mostly informational. Usually funny. I hope.
Oftentimes relatable, even.
And yeah, I hope you learned something. So, come along. Welcome. Okay.
Is that going to be our new thing?
Maybe, I don't know. Okay, so this episode is Trump Trials Part 3. So originally, we decided we were going to release one of the Trump trial episodes every month, always the last week of the month. However, we decided to do it a little bit early because...
There's so much going on that we need 2 episodes for it.
Yes. Well, that, but also this whole autism thing is a big one. So, we'll get into that in a second. But if you are new here... Trump Trials, just a little...
it's a brand new mini-series that we decided
yes.
to start doing because there's literally something new that happens. Actually, 7 new things every week.
Well, okay, let me specify.
We do an overview.
So, yes, obviously, all of these things that happen are affecting all of us as we live in America. However, all of them that are happening that we've been talking about are also... directly affecting healthcare and specifically
our residents
and the population that we serve. We've talked about it many times. We work primarily with adults with cognitive disabilities
and physical.
We serve, obviously all types of disabilities, mental illnesses, dementia, things like that. However, our primary what's the word?
Consumer-based?
Consumer, yeah, is an adult with cognitive disabilities.
Mm.
So, the reason that we decided to bump up this episode was because the autism thing, I can't. It's not funny, but it's funny because it's just why?
When I tell y'all that I hate it here, I hate it here. Numero uno. Autism is not caused by a frickin' vaccine. It's not.
It's also not a disease. Okay, so if you've been living under a rock, which is the only way you wouldn't know about this, RFK Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he released a statement saying that, so first it was about children, and then later he realized what it sounded like, so then he released another statement talking about adults with autism. So we'll get to that
Let's
later.
not skirt past the original statement.
Oh yeah, we're getting to that. So he released a statement, again, if you've been living under a rock, how autism is a disease. It affects families in a way of like basically what is the he said it destroys families. That's what he says. Yeah. He also said that it's caused by vaccines and that we've never seen such a surge in autism cases before. I forget the exact statistics he said, but he said back in the day, I don't even think he actually mentioned the year. It was like 1 in every 400 children, something like that, were diagnosed with autism. And then he said now it's 1 in every 34. Which statistically, I don't know if any of that's correct. I'm assuming not, but I have no idea. I haven't taken the time to
Google that.
Yeah, I haven't taken the time to research it because honestly, this whole thing has just hurt my brain.
Well, not only that, but RFK is not credible. Ever.
No, he's not.
Ever.
No.
And like he already offed a bunch of children, and I think it was Somalia, because he was telling them not to administer the measles vaccine there.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah,
was it
he's...
Samoa or Somalia? Somalia?
I think...
I don't recall. It was one of those two, though.
Yeah, I don't know. But I know he's not, like, a doctor. He doesn't have a healthcare background.
He also said he had a worm in his brain. Maybe the worm is talking.
These, like, I just want to be clear. These are the people...
He was also addicted to H.
These are the people that are responsible for running our country. Like,
yeah.
Like, I wish this was satire. It's not. This is real.
This is real life, and I have to dissociate daily. I have to, or I will lose my ever-loving mind.
Like, the person who's in charge of our healthcare for the entire company.
Country.
Is really saying that autism is a disease and that it's caused by vaccines and that it destroys families.
Okay, well, first of all, when the time period that he gave for like the original thing, they were still giving vaccines that contained mercury.
Like, yeah.
And even so, it still did not cause autism. That's not a thing. That's not a thing.
Like, people used to have lead paint in their houses.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that the things that were going into vaccines and lots of everyday items were very, very different from what we have today.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so, like...
Except, for your average dummy, when Donald Trump told everybody to ingest bleach. Ingest or inject. To kill COVID. Like,
this is real,
if
man.
that wasn't a sign that this man should not be in charge of running the country, I don't know what is. There's plenty of them.
Okay, so RFK Jr.
Yeah,
says,
sorry, I derailed this a little bit.
You're fine. It's just so disappointing. I'm just trying to think. Okay, so basically, he says the thing about kids. He says that they will never play basketball, never go on a date, never pay taxes, never write a poem. Use the bathroom by themselves. Okay, first of all, if they aren't paying taxes, whoop-de-doo. One person with disabilities isn't working.
But, like, the fact of the matter, they're still taxed. And they still buy things that are taxed.
Well, right. And not only that, but if they're getting state benefits, they're still taxed.
That's what I'm saying.
And even if they do end up with a job, there's a different wage for people with disabilities.
Much lower than...
It's... Yeah. It's like... It's like close to the waitressing wage.
Yeah, it's like $2.50, $3.
Something like that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. they don't make a livable wage.
No.
Even though they are capable and do work. And that's just on like the lower functioning side. Like there are plenty of people that are high functioning, that have jobs, that have autism. Sorry to burst your bubble, sir, but there are adults with autism who are working, functioning members of society. Maybe. Don't know yet.
Yeah, so, I mean, I haven't officially been diagnosed. It's a process that I am going to start, but I've been researching autism in adult women for a while now.
At least the last 2 years, if not more.
Yeah. Pretty much, I want to say, well, I think so I got diagnosed with ADHD, I think about a year ago. And it was maybe 6 or so months before that, that I really started, like, heavily researching it. And I still do. I mean, she could tell you, we talk about it literally all the time.
Every day.
Like, I'll be like, oh, this is a new thing I found out about women with autism. And, oh, this and that. Yeah. So, again, not officially diagnosed. However, I am, like, so sure that I'm autistic.
And also, though, it's noteworthy to say that there are it's very, very different than it is in men for women. Mm-hmm. Like, the symptoms are not the same.
No.
Not the same.
It's, like, one of the most misdiagnosed disorders?
Mental disorder, yeah.
Yeah. In women, because it's so commonly... Like, the symptoms overlap with so many different things.
Indeed.
And yeah. Hi. Functioning member of society here.
Samesies.
Mother, wife.
Not samesies.
Taxpayer. I hold down a job. Not only do I work, I also manage a staff. I manage lots of members. Also adults with disabilities, and many of them have autism.
And actually, I don't remember if it was yesterday or the day before, but at some point I brought up how stigmatized it is to disclose your diagnosis and then have people be like, oh, well, you have that illness, so you shouldn't be taking care of people with the same illnesses.
I mean, everybody's different.
Like, also, it's bogus. Like, we know what we're doing.
Right.
It's not like we didn't go through the training and, we don't have, like, 10 years of experience each. That doesn't matter, right?
No, not at all. In fact, we should just both jump out that window right now. Because it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah. We don't matter. We're not contributing members of society.
No, because we're both neurodivergent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really funny. Because I've thought about that before, where, like, if you heard that, that's my son.
I don't know. My phone picks up sound pretty well, but I don't know about that.
I don't know. Maybe. Well, he's stimming. He's doing a thing.
Yep.
It's really funny though, because like there have been times where like my members will have a meltdown, and in my head, I'm, like, having a meltdown about the exact same thing. But then on the outside, I'm like, you're the staff, Amy. You're the staff.
We don't melt down. We don't melt down.
No, absolutely not. And it's so funny because, like, when there have been times where I will have a total freak out about the same exact thing when I'm not at work. Like, it'll be something very, very, very similar. And the way that I handle it at work versus when I'm at home is so different. And it's just so funny because, like, on the outside, I'm so calm. And I'm like, this doesn't bother me at all. And then on the inside, I'm like, help, help.
Can we also talk about the slightest minor inconvenience out of the day?
Don't even get me started. I don't know if it's being neurodivergent or if it's just the trauma.
Both.
Or both.
Both.
But tell me why I can get like these major curveballs thrown at me and I'm like, meh. But like something so minor, so minuscule.
Hair tie breaks. Kind of jump down the sewer slide.
Literally.
Drop pen on floor. Sewer slide.
Dig myself a hole in the ground and sit in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like so little.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But the point we're trying to make is that no matter what, even those things that happen, even if they're ridiculous, we get over them.
Real quick,
We still do our jobs just fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of it, too, is that, like, the fact that we take care of people that, yes, they have cognitive deficits, but then they are also, most of them, mentally a lot younger.
Yeah.
And even though you and I are divergent or neurodivergent, we are still like our ages that we're supposed to be mentally.
Yeah.
And I think that has a lot to do with it. It would be a different story if I was, 10, 15 years behind my maturity level, like cognitively.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be able to take care of somebody that's my age if I'm mentally 10 years younger than them,
Indeed. Indeed.
Because one size doesn't fit all.
Correct. And like, I don't know how many times or how many different ways we have to say it for people to start understanding that not everybody is the same. Just because someone with autism has this symptom or this characteristic doesn't mean that another person with autism has the same thing. Are there people with the same characteristics? Absolutely. But not everybody has the same ones.
Yeah. I mean, I have a few members with autism who are nonverbal, and, one I can think of is extremely food driven. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we found out he has pica. And then I have another one who...
Pica, what a hell of a drug.
And then I have another one who, stims all the time. And he just he's in his own little world 24/7. And then I have another one who very, very social, loves to do things, loves to talk to people, held down a job for 4 years.
And that's like one of the biggest things about autism that people don't understand is that not everybody with autism is antisocial and keeps to themselves and doesn't make eye contact and like all the things.
No.
Because those are the most like severe cases and those are the ones that are talked about enough. People don't talk about the higher functioning people.
No. And the higher functioning ones are great at masking.
Mm-hmm. Hi. Hello. How are you?
So there's a good chance that the other ones, like for example, somebody who's nonverbal, there's a good chance that they have lots of other things going on, but they're never going to be able to tell you. Yeah. We don't know what they think. We don't know what they feel. Well, I mean, for all we know, they could have a whole bunch of different things. I don't want to say wrong with them, but for lack of a better term, wrong with them. And we would never know about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, so I know that I've talked about the one resident that I had at the company that Jasmine and I worked together in our hometown. So there was this, he was mostly nonverbal. He could say, we would do the alphabet with him sometimes. So I would say A, he would say B, so on and so forth. Counting, and then he would say raspberry. Like stuff like that. But if you said chicken, he would say chicken, stuff like that. He could say pain, and then we were instructed to grab the pain chart, take it to him. It was the full body one, so he would show us where he was having the pain, and then he would point to one of the faces. I don't remember what that exact pain scale is called.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
but,
I know what you're talking about.
So we would take a body check sheet and then the pain scale, and he would point to how bad his pain was based on the face. and that determined if he needed like a Tylenol or whatever, like if he had a headache. But for the most part, he's not just going to come up to you and say that he's in pain, because he can't. You have to guess, because if he has behaviors and aggresses on somebody, there's a reason for it.
Right.
That's how they tell you that something's wrong with them.
Unless this person is like severely mentally ill, 9 times out of 10, they're never going to like swing on you or have major behaviors just because. There are those people that do that. So I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but for the most part, it is because there is something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you have to start playing the guessing games. So usually I start with, okay, hungry, do you need a drink? Are you too warm? Are you too cold? Do you need to use the bathroom? Do you need a pain pill? Once we've gone through all of those things, do you want your toy? Do you want your favorite song on? Whatever. Light's too bright.
Mm-hmm.
Then, and only then, will I give a PRN for behaviors if they have one.
You have to exhaust all your other options first.
Also, if you're not familiar with caregiving, PRN is an as-needed medication.
Yeah.
And if it's for behaviors specifically, exactly what she said. You have to exhaust all your options first, because if you go straight to the PRN before doing any of that stuff, it could be considered a chemical restraint.
Indeed.
Which is a form of abuse.
It is.
Okay.
Back to RFK.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's all in the same realm. I'm glad we're staying on the same playground today.
Yeah.
Maybe different slides, but
we have veered a time or two.
It's the same playground, because there are plenty of times where we start out on one playground, we end up in a park across town.
Mm-hmm. Different baseball diamond.
I guess what gets me is just the fact that, like, it's something that's so misunderstood, and it's becoming more understood. And then he goes ahead and says that it's a disease and that, we're seeing a surge in cases. No. The amount of cases has always been there. People have always been neurodivergent. They've always been on the spectrum. We, as a society, are getting better at recognizing those things.
Mm-hmm. And that's why there are more cases, because it's more well known now, because there's been like research done and studies and all of the things.
And what we know about autism today is so different than what we knew about it then.
Mm-hmm. Well, plus back then, when he was a kid, it was very stigmatized. Anybody, like a family member, needed to be hidden away from society, either in a mental institution, or the family would take care of them and just not take them out in public.
Yeah, and that's just it, is that a lot of them went to mental institutions, and that's a completely inappropriate place for somebody with cognitive disabilities, because cognitive disabilities and mental illness are not the same.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you will have a patient, well, actually more than sometimes, a lot of the times, will have members that are cognitively disabled that also have mental illnesses on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
However, that doesn't mean that they're one and the same. That just means they have multiple diagnoses.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we were just talking the other day about how there should be a limit on
Life needs to stop lifing.
Yeah.
And giving us like multiple disabilities.
I say 1 physical disability per person, one mental illness per person. That's it.
Yup.
I guess I could give a background as to why. So again, if you're new here, we just announced, was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah. I think.
Yeah. So I'm 7 months pregnant now. Found out I have pregnancy-induced anemia.
Oh, you didn't tell me they finally called you back?
Yes, I did get the call today. I do, in fact, have it. So, which I knew because, yeah. So basically what happened was I had an OB appointment. I had a bunch of labs beforehand, and then my labs came back normal. And, I have, like, the app that it tells you, like, when they come in. So I'm a Googler. I'm a finder outer. So when my labs came back abnormal, of course I'm thumbing it. I'm Googling.
I know. I had to tell you not to let WebMD and Google freak you out. Because anytime I WebMD or Google anything, it's like cancer or a stroke. So the worst possible thing that it could be.
So right away, my labs were indicative of pregnancy-induced anemia. And also knowing what I know, being in healthcare, I also was able to put 2 and 2 together because all of those labs that came back normal, I know already, and I know that those are usually indicative of anemia.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured it out, and so I was just waiting for them to call me, because that was over the weekend. I had my appointment on Friday, and then obviously they weren't going to call me over the weekend, and I did in fact get the call today.
Your fucking cat, unbothered, just like
Always.
slinks away.
Always.
Sorry, go on.
But yeah, I have anemia. Pregnancy induced. So it's really not that big of a deal. They said that my labs actually weren't too bad. They said it's mild. So odds are I will either just need like an iron supplement or infusions. If it's really bad, but I don't think it's gonna be that bad.
No.
So yeah.
I mean, infusions is like the last resort.
Mm-hmm.
So I really don't think you're all that bad off.
No. So anyway, I don't even remember why I was talking about me having anemia. Oh, the diagnoses.
Yeah, that.
Because I had been having...
because my brain wasn't braining.
So the reason why we had talked about having one diagnosis per person, again, one physical and one mental, is because we were talking about how I'd been having some symptoms of anemia for a while, but I've had a rough pregnancy, and so just because of that, and also I have fibromyalgia, I was like, it never even occurred to me that I had another diagnosis. I always just thought it was the pregnancy or the fibro.
Bro, your diagnoses are stacking.
So then I'm like, oh, it never occurred to me that I can have more things. And then we were talking about it, and I was like thinking about it, and I'm like, that makes a lot of sense, because we have some members that have diagnoses lists that are literally this long.
And I love how you have those residents that all of them are unspecified. They have one that's set in stone. Yes, they definitely have this, but then the rest of them are unspecified.
Okay. What really gets me...
This is how you know she's serious.
Okay, this one is probably my biggest pet peeve about this specifically. So, and this is actually very relevant to what we're talking about, because there is a mentally challenged, or whatever it's called, mental deficit, cognitively impaired, yeah, whatever you want to call it, whatever the official name is, I don't exactly remember, but it's literally that and then unspecified.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an actual diagnosis recognized by at least our state. I think it goes from state to state what recognized diagnoses are.
I believe so.
But at least our state is it's recognized. And so what's so crazy is they won't accept certain things, or oh, that's not a qualifying diagnosis for benefits. But you can literally just have unspecified cognitive impairment, and that qualifies you for benefits.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What?
Make it make sense.
So we can't just do further testing to figure out what it is? Oh, I don't know, maybe it's autism.
We're just gonna leave it unspecified.
And again, that goes back to the days that RFK Jr. talks about, because we're gonna slap a label on somebody and call them good.
Yeah. Sorry, still tired.
It's okay. I'm always tired.
Yeah, perpetually tired. In case you didn't hear me, I said perpetually tired.
It's just so crazy. Like, I don't get it.
I also don't get it, but if I try to get it, I will probably off myself, so.
Yeah.
We're just not going to try and understand because there's no understanding.
Honestly, I feel like not much else can be said about this other than just being sad.
Mm-hmm. Well, how many times have we said that the Trump administration, like the whole thing, is going to set us back 50 years plus?
Mm-hmm.
And they have already.
Oh, absolutely. And it's only been a couple months.
They're continuing to dismantle things. And I also read somewhere about Trump passing some executive order for him to like not have to run for a third term, essentially making him an oligarch, however you say it.
Yes, I read that as well.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't get it to pass through Congress, I believe it was. But he tried. He really, really, really tried. He had his team go through like basically the entire Constitution and look for loopholes and all of the things. I read somewhere that he had maybe not one, but probably a whole team of people, literally round the clock, like 24/7, trying to find a loophole as to how he could get away with a third term.
Yeah. And then also, he just tried to pass an executive order basically stating that the president doesn't have to follow laws even if the Supreme Court rules it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know if that one's going to pass. Hopefully not, but he really is trying everything right now.
I'm happy that, I mean, obviously there has been a lot passed that shouldn't have passed, but I'm happy
that they're at least denying this stuff.
Yes, the stuff that like really, really, really matters. I mean, it all matters, but priorities, you know?
Mm-hmm. Have to pick your battles.
Right. I guess my last thought on this whole thing, because we could talk for days about this, just kind of like piggybacking off what you said about how, you know, people like this were put into institutions. And so, you know, one of the things that RFK Jr. has said was, you will never see a 70-year-old man with autism. And he was like, I have yet to meet one in my life.
We have.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we've taken care of many of them.
Yeah. They
do exist. The thing is that when he was a child, they were locked away in institutions. I have one. That sounds bad. I specifically have taken care of somebody. Like, I have a very specific example of somebody that was locked away in an institution when he was a literal child. Like, their guardian told me his whole life story, and he was put away when he was like 8 or 9, and then he grew up, and then he in the institution, and then when he was like 21, went and lived in a group home, and he had been in a group home his entire life since. And when I met him, he was like in his 70s. And so this is a person that had literally been locked away from society for like 60 plus years.
Yeah. And I think it also needs to be said that since they were locked away from society, it's also much harder to take them on outings because it's very overstimulating for them.
Right.
Because they never had the opportunity to be out in the community. So like going to a park where there's kids running around and families and people walking their dogs, like that's all very, very overstimulating for them because it's so much to take in and they've never seen it before.
Right. Like I was surprised at how well adjusted he was after being locked away for so long. Because like those are the types of things that even if you're nonverbal, you still have trauma about it.
Yeah.
You might not be able to verbalize how it makes you feel, but you're not going to be happy. And so it was so crazy to me. And then his roommate ended up kind of having like a similar story. And so his guardian was a family member, and she was like, I didn't agree with it, but I was so young at the time that I couldn't do anything about it. And she was like, it made me sad, but I will never forget when she was like, that's what we did then. She was like, if you had somebody in your family that was like that, that was just what people did.
Yep.
And that has just like always stuck with me. And
well, that was like also the era where it was okay to do like lobotomies and like the literal torture that these people went through to try and rid them of demons and all the things, like ice baths, bloodletting, like all of those horror stories that you hear about, they happened. Yeah. Like they actually happened.
And the people that I took care of, like, these were literal children. Mm-hmm. They needed their mom and their dad and a hug.
And understanding.
And they got locked away instead. And they lived with other patients. Patients who were probably a lot older than them.
And worse off.
And again,
mentally.
Like, can you imagine being thrown into a place like that? You're ripped away from your parents, your family. Your family doesn't really come and visit you. You're nonverbal. So if somebody does something to you, you can't tell anybody.
Mm-hmm. And, like, abuse back then, obviously, like, all the stuff that they did that I just talked about was abuse. But, like, actual physical abuse, like getting hit or spit on or punched, hair pulled, whatever, like that was also very common from the people that were supposed to be taking care of them.
Yeah, the staff. Because at the time it was, this is how they are. We can give them their own treatment back to us. Like, mm-hmm. No, these people are doing this because they're scared.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be, sure, they might need to be in a facility, but not in an institution.
Right.
And yeah, it was just amazing how well adjusted these members were, given everything that they had lived through in life. And it was just crazy to me. Like,
and I also feel it's necessary to say that that's what RFK and the Trump administration are trying to get us back to. Like, they're trying to lock these people away from society and basically, like, slave labor them also.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I totally agree. And yeah, it's just wild. Like, it's just so crazy to me. And, we talked about it before, how basically, they're trying to find a way to separate us. Honestly, us being neurodivergent would probably also be looked at the same way, but separate normal people from, I don't know, undesirables, whatever you want to call them. People who don't fit the standards of normal society.
The status quo.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess just keep that in mind. Like, the next time that you look at somebody like that, think about that. I often try to put myself in my member's shoes, and even, my son's shoes. My son has special needs. He has ADHD, and then we also just found out that he has a sensory processing disorder and executive functioning disorder. And, I get frustrated all the time, constantly, because I'm always thinking about how this affects me, and then, of course, since I have my mental issues,
they kind of topple on each other.
It's gonna bother me. But sometimes I have to, like, take a step back and really think and be like, okay, what are they going through right now that's causing this behavior? What can I do to make it better for them? And then usually when I put myself in that mindset, it goes away. That would be my son taking a potty break.
Darn it. I had something. I don't anymore.
Oh well. I thought. It's gone. Train left the station without you. But yeah, as we navigate through these really scary times, just be kind. You don't know what somebody's going through. You don't know what anybody's going through, but you especially don't know what a nonverbal person is going through.
Mm-hmm. Nobody does, other than them.
Yeah. And I wish that we could change that, but we can't.
Yeah. Frustrating.
Yeah. So I guess as things arise with the Trump trials, we'll keep doing these episodes.
We will never run out of content for the
No.
next 4 years, dude.
No, we will not. And, you know, again, it's all stuff that affects us specifically in healthcare.
Yeah.
You know, like I said at the beginning of the episode, it affects everybody, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, healthcare is something that we all need.
And also very much under fire right now.
Yeah.
Especially for women and people with disabilities.
Yeah. It's great. It's a great time. I never thought that this is where we would be in 2025, but
Here we are.
here we are. So yeah.
Okay, bye, friend.
Do the thing.
Julie!
Do the thing!
All right. So, you can find us at at Boss Ravioli Queens on Facebook and TikTok. You can also email us bossravioliqueens@gmail.com. Also, do not forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you want to know when we post a new episode. And I mean, who doesn't want to know? Who doesn't want that? As Boss Lady Amy said, we will still be releasing Trump Trials episodes. And as I said, we'll have plenty of content for the next 4 years. On that aspect, anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really hoping it's not the next 4 years, but we'll see. We shall see.
You know, anything is possible. Obviously, we gotta stay realistic, but I also want to stay optimistic.
Same. Which is why I'll be dissociating a lot for the next 4 years. That keeps the optimism way up here. Okay, until next time, y'all. Bye! I forgot to do the thing.